Former Communications Minister Yunus Carrim is testifying at the state capture inquiry. Carrim says he found a toxic environment when he got to the department. He testified about the controversial 553 million rand deal signed between MultiChoice and SABC in 2013. For more on this, I'm joined in studio by reporter Manqoba Mchunu. Manqoba, very good afternoon to you. We read reports a little bit earlier on that MultiChoice CEO Calvo Mawela sent out an email to staff saying they mustn't get distracted by what may come out at state capture. What did come out?
Well, Zinga, we did learn, of course, that MultiChoice has issued that statement, of course, regarding the testimony that is being heard at the State Capture Commission. As you've alluded in your intro, it's about that controversial deal that was signed in July 2013 between the SABC and MultiChoice. Literally, the deal was on MultiChoice, footing the bill for the SABC's news channel at the time, as well as another channel, which is SABC Enco. So the agreement was that MultiChoice will pay all of these monies, and in return, they'll also have access to some of the SABC's archives. Of course, this deal we've heard before in previous testimonies through the testimony of the then CEO, Manqoba, saying that this deal was signed behind closed doors, that she didn't know about it. It was all, facilitated by the then CEO, Mutseneng. So MultiChoice had a bigger role to play in this deal because they are the ones who initially won to say, so to say, in this deal. They got access to some of the SABC's archives, and not only that, there was a clause that they inserted in that contract that they'd signed with the SABC where they could stipulate or basically, demand that the SABC or have control or a say in the SABC's policy when it comes to mechanism of control. So they could say that the SABC cannot encrypt according to DTT, which is what they wanted. And the sense is that, this is because MultiChoice wanted to keep the monopoly of pay TV. So initially what Carrim is saying is that, the ANC policy itself from ANC Mangawung in 2012 was that there should be competition in the pay in this digital migration, meaning that there should be encryption and therefore people should pay to watch the service. But then he says that by the time he got there, MultiChoice had opposed this and was ferociously opposed to the idea of encryption in such an extent that they then inserted it in this clause that they signed with the SABC. So when they say that to their workers they might not be distracted, it's because they do know that, in fact, the testimony that we led today is testimony that fingers them in this whole deal, and how, in the end, we saw when Minister Faith Mutambi came in, she then decided not to go ahead with encryption.
Manqoba, very technical testimony coming out a little bit earlier on around migration. If you can break it down for us a little bit without so many technicalities.
Well, Zinga, it's a bit, technical, as you say. But, what Yunus Carrim has been testifying about is the whole route of digital migration. This was a policy that was introduced, or an idea that was introduced by the then Minister of Communications as back as 2008. But funny enough, in Zinga, it's now 2020, but still digital migration has not been achieved in South Africa. And he's given the detail why it has taken so long for it to be achieved and for it to actually, come into effect. And this is because he says of all the opposition to encryption of the signal in the set-top boxes, he says this was a clause that was introduced when it was first introduced by the then minister. And of course, when he was the Minister of Communications, he also ensured that, the policy that was to be formulated, the fact that encryption should stay or the set-box control should remain, is one of the things that he fought for. And that's the reason he believes he was removed from the department for continuing to insinuate that that particular clause of set-top box payments should stay in that contract. But of course, he says that this changed. And that's the reason why he says there's been a stall in the implementation of DTT because of that particular clause. We saw previously there were legal battles where MultiChoice also took the matter to court, ETV took the matter to court, because it also affected them in a sense, because as a free-to-air channel, they also wanted those DTT or those set-top boxes not to be encrypted. While MultiChoice is arguing that they should not be encrypted because they were expensive, but in the meantime, it was in their best interest because they will keep the monopoly of pay TV.
fascinating, and I'm sure more testimony coming out which will give us insight into what then Minister Carrim will testify about and what happened then. Manqoba Mchunu, following that state capture story, thanks so much for your time on SABC News.